You're listening to Business Stories with Ryan Arcaracci, where I speak to business professionals from all walks of life. Thanks for listening, and let's get to it. Hey everybody, Ryan here, another episode on the Business Stories podcast, and I'm always interested in innovations in home services. I think as the world evolves with technology, I'm interested in talking with people that are really out there being innovative in the home service space, and one of those people is Michael Hartel. He is the CEO of Cabinet IQ, which is innovating the storage space. I love this stuff because I'm kind of a clean freak. I like things to be not so cluttered in my house. So, Michael, it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining me here.
Thanks for having me on, Ryan.
Yeah, you have an interesting background. More of, I think, more on the engineering side, and you're a super smart guy. What tempted you to move from that world into building this brand, Cabinet IQ? Talk about the background of that.
Sure, yeah. So I got a PhD in engineering and with a focus on nanotechnology, which sounds cool, but after grad school, it was actually really boring sitting at a desk, staring at a computer and
Right,
not fulfilling, like the farthest away from a fulfilling job that you could have,
right.
in my opinion. And it's not like it's a bad job, it just didn't align with what I enjoy doing. And that's just thinking creatively, building stuff. I've always been into, understanding how things work. But when you work for a large organization like that, you're just such a small piece of it. So you're actually not really involved in like the grand scheme. You're just doing such a small, seemingly insignificant part of a larger project. So I quit basically to start flipping houses. I got hit with a Facebook ad, I think, on Facebook one day about, hey, become a house flipper. We're having a free seminar this weekend. So I went there, and for the first time, I understood, in an 8 hour session, what the industry is even about, understanding how to buy a house, how much to pay for it, how much to put into it and sell it for. So I gave it a whirl, and that was part time, trying to do that part time. And the first one, I didn't make any money and worked really hard. The second one, I made a little bit more. The third one, I figured it out a little bit better. And it was fun. And I ended up leaving my cushy job with good pay and good benefits and, all the things that W-2 provides for you. But I was really fulfilled, right? Going to Home Depot at 6 o'clock in the morning and waiting in line for the door to open so I can go get, materials to build these houses. I felt free for the first time in a long time. So that was kind of the segue to where we're at now. It was a segue from flipping homes to working with homeowners doing high-end residential projects. They really enjoyed seeing my pictures of my projects that I was selling, and I started getting asked, "Hey, can you remodel my house?" So that's how that got started was, through the residential remodeling space. And cabinets is one of those items that's the last to go in the house, and quite frankly, one of the more complicated ones if it's not done the right way. And I had project after project after project that was delayed and had issues, very, frustrating to be in a homeowner's house and say, "Hey, Mrs. Smith, the cabinet guy is not going to show up for another month. I'm sorry, but you can't move in this week." You're like, it's horrible. And I'm not the type of person to blame other people. Like I take full responsibility of the stuff that I'm supposed to be responsible for. So I started my own cabinet company, quite frankly, in 2016 to not have the same mistakes happening that were happening to me. So here we are, going on almost a decade now, which sounds crazy to even say, but
Yeah.
it's been a really fun journey to really be innovative in the space and do great work for proud homeowners.
What do you say are the strategies for you to scale this company? I mean, it's interesting because you come from an engineering background. I think some of your engineering mind took play into building this brand, but you've been, super successful in it in 10 years. It's a long time, but for a business and a company, it's really not that long. It's still kind of new. What do you think you've learned in this journey? What are some of the strategies you've applied to find that success?
Yeah, great question. It's really around the people. It's around understanding what your personal core values are and being around people that align with them. I think that's first and foremost. Systems and processes. If you have good, good operators and good, I guess good operators, you can figure out processes. You can document things. You can create checklists. Continuous improvement is just in my blood. I hate making the same mistake twice. And when you make a mistake and you learn from it and you don't think of it as a failure, but more of a learning opportunity,
Yeah.
and you do that over and over and over and over again, you just naturally you have a pretty solid business.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the important parts of our growth were around finding the right people and then just combing the business front to back from marketing all the way through the operations through everything about the business, just combing it front to back, saying how can we make this a little bit better. I also have spoken to an incredible amount of homeowners that we've done business for that left us good reviews, and instead of just saying thank you for leaving us a nice review, I would always ask him, hey, thank you for leaving that review. But let me ask you this. Is there anything that you think we could have done just a little bit better so that the next person that we work with could have just a little bit better of an experience?
Hmm.
And that question is beautiful because you'll get all sorts of answers, and some of them maybe aren't applicable to the general population that you're serving. Maybe it's just a one off. And you're like, okay, that's a one off, no problem. But if you start seeing patterns, it's definitely opportunities to tackle. So just
Yeah.
making continuous improvements in businesses, documentation, and solid folks that align with your core values. That's, off the top of my head, I think that's what got us here.
I'm really curious to ask you with someone who has a brain like yours, who's probably really good at figuring out really difficult problems, right? Do you have any stories or situations where you can recall maybe on a project where you went, I don't know how we're going to do this? And how do you navigate those challenges, those difficulties when you come across a project that just seems near impossible to handle? Do you have any situations you can recall from that?
Not off the top of my head, I have a pretty even keel about problems. I think that there's just opportunities that take some time and thinking. I Not to turn this into a personal development podcast, but things like meditation and cold plunging and like rest. You don't put yourself in a beta brainwave state where you're driving around town with your head cut off trying to solve all the world's problems.
Yeah.
So I think for me, getting together with a team, understanding a problem, and then working towards a solution and implementing a final solution that's now a part of an SOP. That's
Yeah.
kind of that's how we operate. So I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was like, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. What are we going to do here?
Yeah.
Should we burn this thing down? We've grown incrementally. We're growing a little bit faster now that we're a franchise system, but overall, I think just that continuous improvement mindset keeps the things moving forward.
That's good. I want to ask you too, when you talk about the franchise, I think culture is a big part of a franchisor system success. How do you define your culture? And how do you continue to maintain those cultural values with your brand?
Yeah, great question. So I'll give you our five core values. Number one is create a positive impact. I believe that we always have an opportunity to make a positive or negative experience on anyone's life that we interact with. So it's a choice. We choose to be a positive impact on people's lives. Number two is be a lifetime student. Obviously having a background as a PhD, I just love figuring things out and learning and growing, reading books, meeting new people, meeting other visionaries that think completely different than me, and is very inspiring for me. So be a lifetime student. Number two. Number three is mind the details. I find that just in studying companies, I find that the companies that really pay attention to the finer points of their business do better than the ones that are just kind of winging it in certain areas. So really understanding the details of the business and making sure that they're dialed in is our third core value, mind the details. Number four and five are more self-explanatory. So do what's right, now it's easy, and then take accountability for your actions and inactions. So the and inactions is just as important as the actions to take accountability for. So
Yeah.
yeah, create a positive impact, be a lifetime student, mind the details, do what's right, now it's easy, and take accountability for your actions and inactions. So you asked, how do we maintain this culture? It's to start with asking these questions around these items when you're speaking to someone you're thinking about bringing into the system. So for me, I think 80% of our interview when I'm on, interviews for key members of our team,
Hmm.
those are the questions I ask. 80% of my questions are on that. their background and their tools and their tool belt and their, personality profiles. We use a culture index to test for personality fit.
Hmm.
Those are kind of add-ons. They're obviously important, but what's important to me is bringing in the person with the right core values.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the brand itself? Who do you look for to be drawn to this brand? I mean, who do you look for an ideal franchisee, and what have you learned from the successful ones? What are they doing that you feel is a cut above the rest to be successful in this industry?
Yeah, good question. So we're looking for more buttoned up professionals. What I mean by that is, someone that's looking to open up maybe like a juice stand or a food truck or, like a work from home poop scooping or power washing business. It's just not the same as our industry. This is you have to look the part and you have to talk the part. You have to be smart. And I'm not saying you don't have to in those other businesses, but this is a little bit of an elevated brand, right? We call it home fashion industry. So if someone doesn't like wearing, you know, looking nice, right, and having intelligent conversations with someone, this is an industry where people are spending a lot of money. The ticket is, it could be $100,000, $150,000 for a project that we're offering someone and selling and installing for them. And if you don't look the part and not just look the part, but act the part, uh, it's just not a good fit. So
Yeah.
we're looking for, like I said, buttoned up sales professionals. We have people that are coming in from, um, medical device sales that are really good operators for large companies that maybe hit that vice president level, and they're not going to make it to the C-suite for whatever, bureaucratic reasons. They're leaving and becoming Cabinet IQ franchise owners. So that's kind of the professionals we're looking for. It's a little bit of a higher level than some brands would take. So yeah,
Yeah.
just in the short time that we've been franchising, we have had a lot of interest, and we're turning down nearly everyone that we actually speak to based on their
Wow.
background, the way that they act on founders calls, the way that they, how they present themselves here during confirmation day in Austin. That to me is going to be more important to protect the integrity of the brand than to see how fast we can open up, 150 cabinet stores around the country.
Right.
Building an epic brand is a journey, and I'm not just going to try to do it in 2 or 3 years. I think the stability and the integrity of the brand means a lot more to me than just fast growth.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sure you and I both know brands who they just brag about how fast they're growing, but they don't really talk about franchisee success. And I'm a complete opposite of that. So it's my responsibility. At the end of the day, it's my call who we bring into the system. Like I have yes or no for everyone that comes through, and along with my team. But if I don't feel 100% that they have what it takes to be successful, that their market's viable, that they have the background, that they have the core values, that they fit the system, I don't feel comfortable offering them a chance to be a part of this journey that we're on.
No, I love that because I hear a lot of brands just think about, I want to grow, 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 but they don't think about, well, that's great, but if you have 100 franchisees and 10 of them are doing well, that's not good, right? So I love that approach. Talk a little bit about, like, Michael, your approach to customer service. I know we talked about, you want professionalism, you want people who are buttoned up, but talk about your processes and the systems and how you develop a really quality customer experience with your brand too.
Oh man, we might be here for a couple of hours, but I'll try to give you the cliff notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So starting out, we have a CRM that when a form is filled out online, it actually immediately engages with the client. And the trick is not to sound like a robot and for it to be very conversational. So we've tweaked that message several times to see what the best response rate was. But basically, to get the person who just filled out a form to continue the conversation without someone being involved from the sales side. So that's been really effective to get the conversation started. But really, we want to qualify someone to make sure that we have what they want, right? We don't paint cabinets. We don't add on one cabinet to a kitchen. We don't just do hardware or fix something. We're looking for full kitchen cabinet replacement jobs. That's our bread and butter. So we qualify customers. We invite them into the showroom. We actually have documentation of working with Cabinet IQ looks like from start to finish. A lot of customers have never remodeled a kitchen before that come to us. So when we're literally the only company in the marketplace that sits down and shows them a customer facing SOP for what this looks like from start to finish, literally from the time that they're sitting at the showroom with us all the way until they leave us a 5-star review, what step by step that looks like, is very powerful, right? We say to people, and we ask for a design retainer after that meeting. Sometimes people say, "Hey, we need to think about it. It's a big purchase. We're talking to a couple other people." We ask them to make sure that they ask that other company for their documented process, and to maybe think about which company has a better process that aligns with what they're expecting.
Hmm.
So when you go down the street and go to Joe's Cabinets and you ask Joe for his SOP, he's gonna be like, "What are you talking about? I just wing it," in
Yeah.
so many words. So it really attracts the people who care about process, care about having it done the right way. Price is probably third or fourth on the list of things that our ideal client cares about.
Hmm.
So that's just giving you an understanding of who we're looking for. Creme de la creme, high income earners, busy professionals that just don't want to deal with, you know, someone that is ghosting them or not paying attention to them. So that's really, that's our client. We get a design retainer, we design their kitchen, we order it, we install it, and then we ask for a 5-star review and the balance. Each one of these steps basically has what we've built with our CRM is almost like a pizza tracker from Domino's, where you understand exactly where the project is at, what's happening next, and trigger points in the system allow messages to go out and keep the client updated without a lot of human contact, without it seeming robotic. That's kind of the sweet spot to give them enough information when they need it, uh, without it seeming like a robot. So
Yeah.
a pretty cool process.
That's great. As we kind of wrap this up, Michael, I want to get into understanding, like, you've really built this into being a great process, a great system, a great brand. What do you do? I mean, we talked a little bit about this, but what do you do personally to continue to fuel that success? You're kind of at the top of the chain. You're maintaining the culture, and really you're a big part of the brand. What's like a routine look like? What are some things you do that feel like you help you stay on top of your game where you're at?
Yeah, great question. I'm a firm believer. This is like intrinsically how I feel. I feel like you'll never lead a team or a system or people farther than you can lead yourself. So I'm all in on that side. My morning routine is basically at the gym. It's a sauna, a cold plunge, and then sauna, working out, and then I meditate for about 45 minutes. Um, I think that you can allow your brain to untangle a lot of problems and get some downloads from cosmic Google, is what I call it. You kind of have some interesting downloads to work on that day. But mostly my day is very structured. I have time blocks are important. I pretty much live out of my calendar. But to keep pushing, I'm trying to meet people that are a decade ahead of what I've built, right?
Hmm.
To keep pushing. So 2 weeks ago, I was actually hanging out with one of the GoPros or the co-founders of GoPro,
Hmm.
who I met through a mutual friend here in Austin. And man, you want to talk about some crazy stories and building like one of the most iconic American brands that have been built in the recent 20 years. Stuff like that. I think hanging around the right people, the right circles, entrepreneurs that have built massive companies and just kind of not picking their brain, but just understanding what they do. What is their routine? What do they read? Where do they hang out? Who do they talk to? I think continually evaluating who you're hanging out with is pretty important. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I have, and I don't want to dismiss the fact that I have a beautiful wife and a 2-year-old. I spend a ton of time at home. I'm home every single day at 5 p.m. My phone goes to my bedroom. I'm not on my phone after 5 p.m. I just put it in my bedroom. So spending, several hours with them every evening is really special to me as well.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, Michael, this has been a great conversation. I want to get the word out about the brand. Where can people find out more, learn about the brand, inquire about franchise ownership, or just learn from a consumer standpoint more about Cabinet IQ? Where can they go?
Yeah, great question. Just cabinetiq.com is our consumer facing website, and if you poke around, you can find a franchising page to fill out.
Great. Michael Hartel, thank you so much. You've been a great guest. We learned a lot, and let's keep in touch, okay?
Thanks, Ryan. Yep, have a great day.
You too. Hey, this is Ryan with the Business Stories Podcast. And if you're a franchisor, franchise consultant, broker, or just a small business owner, you've got to check out clienttether.com. It's an amazing sales automation tool that is revolutionizing the industry. If you want to learn more, go to clienttether.com and inquire within.